Fools learn from experience. I prefer to learn from the experience of others. Let our marksmanship in debate and in conflicts of all kinds be ever so precise. It will never be as fine as God's marksmanship. We hit, he hits. Government is cancerous in head and limbs. Only its belly is sound, and the laws it excretes are the most straightforward shit in the world. Let them stew in their own grease or juice. I never pray to God to make my enemies good. I pray that my enemies become my friends. With bad laws and good civil servants, it's still possible to govern. But with bad civil servants, even the best laws can't help. A generation that has taken a beating is always followed by a generation that deals one. Beware of sentimental alliances, where the consciousness of good deeds is the only compensation for noble sacrifices. A bad plan that is well executed will yield much better results than a good plan that is poorly executed. Anyone who has ever looked into the glazed eyes of a soldier dying on the battlefield will think hard before starting a war. A wise statesman will not try to impose his ideas upon the people, but will look attentively at what the people want and make them believe that they want it too. People never lie so much as before an election, during a war, or after a hunt. If there is ever another war in Europe, it will come out of some damned silly thing in the Balkans. We live in a wondrous time in which the strong is weak because of his scruples, and the weak grows strong because of his audacity. Laws are like sausages. You sleep far better the less you know about how they are made. All treaties between great states cease to be binding when they come in conflict with the struggle for existence. Show me an objective worthy of war, and I will go along with you. I am accustomed to pay men back in their own coin. The great questions of the day will not be settled by means of speeches and majority decisions, but by iron and blood. I consider even a victorious war as an evil from which statesmanship must endeavor to spare nations. Hounds follow those who feed them. Preferably, under the circumstances, not too many ideas. History is simply a piece of paper covered with print. The main thing is to make history, not to write it. The secret of politics: make a good treaty with Russia. Woe to the leader whose arguments at the end of a war are not as plausible as they were at the beginning. Preventive war is like committing suicide out of fear of death. What we learn from history is that no one learns from history. You can do anything with children if you only play with them. Politics is the art of the possible, the attainable, the art of the next best. Revolutions in Prussia are started by kings, and since it is a revolution, it is better to start it ourselves than to suffer of it. The greatest burden for the working class is uncertainty of life. They can never be certain that they will have a job or that they will have heal and the ability to work. We cannot protect a man from all sickness and misfortune. With a gentleman, I'm always a gentleman and a half, and with a fraud, I try to be a fraud and a half. The man who does not wish to be anything but purely honest and noble will never achieve anything great. Politics ruins the character. Crowned heads, wealth and privilege may well tremble, should ever again the black and red unite. Better pointed bullets than pointed words. Life is like being at the dentist. You always think that the worst is still to come, and yet it is over already. We must live with our time and progress with it, but we must not allow ourselves to be constricted by a narrow present. The present must be placed in the service of the future. Man cannot control the current of events. He can only float with them and steer. I have only one ambition left. I should like to have a good epitaph. Only a fool learns from his own mistakes. The wise man learns from the mistakes of others. Political judgment is the ability to hear the distant hoofbeats of the horse of history. Vanity is a mortgage that must be deducted from the value of a man. Politics are not a science based on logic. They are the capacity of always choosing at each instant, in constantly changing situations, the least harmful, the most useful. The letter, written in the emperor's delicate hand, over many closely written pages, spun out at great length, and in a style more declamatory than his pen possessed, suggested Hamlet's words, whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them. Whoever speaks of Europe is wrong. It is a geographical expression. Love is blind. Friendship tries not to notice. Not even the king himself has the right to subordinate the interests of his country to his own feelings of love or hatred towards strangers. He is, however, responsible towards God and not to me if he does so, and therefore, on this point, I am silent. Never believe anything in politics until it has been officially denied. When you want to fool the world, tell the truth. A statesman cannot create anything himself. He must wait and listen until he hears the steps of God sounding through events, then leap up and grasp the hem of his garment. Laws are like medicine. They generally cure an evil by a lesser or a passing evil. The Catholic priest, from the moment he becomes a priest, is a sworn officer of the Pope. I have found that nothing so deceives your adversaries as telling them the truth. Fools you are, to say you learn by your experience. I prefer to profit by others' mistakes and avoid the price of my own. I have often regretted what I have eaten, but never what I have drunk. The life of a man is like a game of chess, which he plays according to his art. An appeal to fear never finds an echo in German hearts. Be polite. Write diplomatically. Even in a declaration of war, one observes the rules of politeness. He who has his thumb on the purse has the power. It is the destiny of the weak to be devoured by the strong. I have seen 3 emperors in their nakedness, and the sight was not inspiring. The luxury of one's own opinion. A little caution outflanks a large cavalry. People never lie so much as before an election, during a war, or after a hunt. Criticism can only be exercised through the medium of a free press and parliaments in the modern sense of the term. Both correctives may easily weaken, and finally lose their efficacy if they abuse their powers. To avert this is one of the tasks of a conservative policy, which cannot be accomplished without a struggle with parliament and press. Politics is the art of the possible, the science of the relative. Politics is not a science, as the professors are apt to suppose. It is an art. I am bored. The great things are done. The German Reich is made. The less people know about how sausages and laws are made, the better they'll sleep at night. You can do everything with bayonets, but you are not able to sit on them. In order to retain a certain respect for sausages and laws, one must not see them being made. The statesman's task is to hear God's footsteps marching through history, and to try and catch on to his coattails as he marches past. You can't destroy the Polish national consciousness or Poles on the battlefield, but if you give them power, they will destroy themselves. Nothing should be left to an invaded people except their eyes for weeping. Universal suffrage is the government of a house by its nursery. A Bavarian is halfway between an Austrian and a human being. When a man says he approves of something in principle, it means he hasn't the slightest intention of carrying it out in practice. Earthly majesty is always akin to the fallen angel, who is proud and unhappy, beautiful but troubled, and whose plans and efforts, though vast, are denied access. Faust complained about having two souls in his breast, but I harbor a whole crowd of them, and they quarrel. It is like being in a republic. One must strike the iron while it is hot, but one must forge it first. It is the destiny of the weak to be devoured by the strong. The most significant event of the 20th century will be the fact that the North Americans speak English. My subject is my life, and my life is my subject. War should only be used for a policy worth its sacrifices. A journalist is a person who has mistaken their calling. Whoever speaks of politics as a conventional lie reveals himself as a latecomer in this world. A conquering army on the border will not be stopped by eloquence. A really great man is known by three signs: generosity in the design, humanity in the execution, moderation in success. Physicians still retain something of their priestly origin. They would gladly do what they forbid. A government must not waver once it has chosen its course. It must not look to the left or right, but go forward. Life has taught me to forgive much, but to seek forgiveness still more. The nation that has the schools has the future. It is better that 10 guilty persons escape than that one innocent suffer. Sovereigns should be careful when issuing orders. Even the smallest mistake can have the greatest consequences. Great men have great dogs. This policy cannot succeed through speeches and shooting matches and songs. It can only be carried out through blood and iron. In looking back upon this situation, we have lamentable proof of the degree of dishonesty and cosmopolitanism to which political parties with us attained when actuated by party hatred. Something similar may have happened elsewhere, but I know of no other country where the universal national feeling and love for the whole fatherland offered so little resistance to the excesses of party passion as with us.
What's your favorite quote? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to catch our captivating future videos. Thank you for watching.